I'm so excited to welcome to the stage Rashmi Vedlakonda to talk about elevating yourself in a technical role, how to use additive manufacturing as a tool in the toolbox. And I know I'm thrilled to be learning even more now from another brilliant presenter. Rashmi, welcome to the stage. I'd like to invite you to turn on your camera and mic. And at that time,
thank
the
you for the
stage will be yours.
introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Rashmi Vedlakonda, and I'm a manufacturing engineer at TIPE Technologies. That was a wonderful presentation by Joan, so colorful, and I loved seeing all the videos and the tools. I really wish we had those tools when we were kids learning math too. So I am going to share my screen. Sarah, can you please let me know if you were able to see my screen?
And it's beautiful.
Okay.
It was in presentation mode. Now it's back to the, okay, now you're perfect.
Okay, thank you. I am so excited to be presenting today at this amazing conference. I've been listening to all the amazing speakers over the past 2 days, and I'm just blown away by the talent that we have in the additive manufacturing industry. So again, I'm Rashmi. I'm a manufacturing engineer at TIPE Technologies, and today I'll be talking about how to elevate yourself in a technical role, and how do you use additive manufacturing as a tool to elevate yourself. Before I go to the key takeaways, I would like to share a small incident that happened in 2022. I attended a convention program. It was a Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers National Convention. It was attended by more than 10,000 students. It was basically a career fair. So I was representing our company and went to recruit some of these students. As I started talking to these students, I observed that at least 60% of them had 3D printing as a skill on their resume in some form or the other. It made me extremely happy to see that, because I truly believe that 3D printing is becoming a very basic skill in the manufacturing industry, just like coding is to software engineers. As much as it made me happy, it also got me thinking about, all of these students had almost the same or similar skill on their resume. So how do they differentiate themselves from the rest of the crowd, or how do they set themselves apart? And are we able to satisfy the industry's need if everybody has the same skill? That brings us to our key takeaways, which are, after the presentation today, I hope you learn how to become an indispensable member of your team or business in the manufacturing industry, and how do you develop your unique presence or unique selling point as an engineer, and also how to combine 3D printing with traditional manufacturing roles such as quality, manufacturing, design, product, or supply chain engineering. For sharing my journey. I tried to put a unique spin on it. I know we usually share our titles and how many years we held that title for, etc. But today I want to show you what are the key skills that I developed during each of my roles in my professional journey. So I was actually born and brought up in India, where I got my Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering. I moved to the United States to pursue my Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. And during my education, I was mostly focused on additive manufacturing research. So I also did a couple of internships and co-ops and consultant roles, starting with Scient on the top left. It's a aerospace consulting company, and their customers range from Boeing, GE, Pratt& and Whitney, Bombardier, Rolls-Royce, all of those companies. I had the opportunity to intern for them. And there I learned about using metal 3D printing for jet engines, and also about failure analysis of the material. I then worked for a period of time at the Center for Additive Manufacturing and Logistics at North Carolina State University. A lot of my energy here was focused on material development and in-process monitoring, design for additive manufacturing, running laser powder bed fusion 3D printers, and a couple of polymer 3D printers as well. There were a few other experiences where I learned 3D scanning, reverse engineering, was using a lot of CAD modeling during this time. I was at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, where I again studied process structure property correlations for electron beam melted 3D printed parts, and also some scanning electron microscopy and transmission electron microscopy. I then moved to the industry. I joined Ingersoll Rand, or as now it is called, Train Technologies, as an additive manufacturing application engineer. I feel like this was the major pivot in my career, because everything I was doing till now was it was a little academic based. It was more materials, using machines, and less of real world applications. So my role as an additive manufacturing application engineer was all about identifying real world problems, opportunities, and using additive manufacturing technology to solve those problems. In this role, I was working with all of our internal customers across the world to identify their problems, identify the materials that they need to use, pick the technology, work with external vendors, and make the solution happen. I then moved to my current role as a manufacturing engineer. This is less of an additive focused role. It's more of a traditional manufacturing engineer role. I support 3 product assembly lines, and I'm also launching a new product. But I also use a lot of additive manufacturing and train my colleagues on how to use it. So sharing my journey has a point, which we'll see in the next slide. But that is what I did for the previous few years. And as you can see from my journey, I had an excellent opportunity to work with a lot of amazing additive manufacturing experts, people who are very passionate, very hardworking, and are working day and night to improve the industry. I also had the opportunity to be on the consumer or customer side, using additive manufacturing technology as a customer when I was in industry. So the thing that I'm going to show you next is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I feel like there is this huge imaginary wall between the additive manufacturing expertise and industry and the users, the manufacturing industry. So how do we remove this wall, or how do we get better at breaking down this wall? A lot of times, users in the industry face a problem, or they see an opportunity for improvement, and they think about how to solve that problem. They don't think about oh, I want to use additive manufacturing, or I want to use automation, or I want to use this particular technology. No, users are always thinking about, I want to solve this problem in a quick, efficient, and cost-effective manner. Sometimes they even prefer that the solution process is a black box. So industry and users are problem centric. They prefer that the process is a black box. That is, sometimes they don't care about all the minor steps that the additive experts are taking to solve their problem. In order to break down this little gap that we are having between both the sides, we need a lot of application engineers or liaison engineers who can understand the need, identify the opportunity, and translate it into an additive manufacturing solution. They kind of act as a bridge between these two worlds because they are experts in the technology, but they also understand the need of the user. What we also need today is maturation of adoption of the technology. Everybody talks about maturation of the technology. There are a lot of scientists and researchers working on improving the machines, improving the technology, improving the materials, improving inspection, which is very important. It's very crucial. But we also need to talk about maturation of the adoption of the technology itself. Okay, you must be thinking, yes, I agree with you, but what does this have to do with me elevating myself in the industry or me growing myself as a professional? And I'm coming to that. It is a one and the same. What the industry needs, if you flip that on its head, you get your answer. What the industry needs and what the industry is seeing as a gap is what we all need to develop in ourselves so that we can fill that gap and we can grow the industry, but we can also make ourselves an indispensable part of both the industries, really. So now I'm going to share 4 very simple steps that I follow myself in my career. Wisely to some of my mentees or friends on how to elevate yourself if you're in the additive manufacturing or really any advanced manufacturing technology industry. So the first step to accelerate your growth in the additive manufacturing industry is to understand the industry need or gap. How do you do this? There are a number of ways. You can reach out to manufacturing leaders. If I were you, I would be noting down the names of all the people attending TIPE. They are the most exceptional people, experts in their fields, and most importantly, very helpful. Nobody has ever said no to me when I needed their help or advice. So just reach out to the leaders, maybe send them a cold message on LinkedIn. If they answer, great. If they don't, that's fine. Such as AMUG, Rapid, FormNext, and expert-led discussions such as the current conference. Women in 3D Printing also has a lot of citywide in-person networking events. You can attend these and talk to the experts and see the industry trends. You can also find a mentor and leverage the Women in 3D Printing mentorship program if you want to. The second step is to convert this industry's gap or need into skills. So how do you do that? First, list down all the trends that you observed or the need for the future, and then you can convert them into a list of skills. Let me give you an example of that. So I work in a manufacturing facility now. We have a number of assembly lines. We have many, many manufacturing engineers and quality engineers. A lot of them come to me often when they need help to make jigs, fixtures, or tools. We look at the application together and I help them model it in a CAD software, convert it to the required format, create support structures, give it an appropriate infill, place it properly on the build platform, everything, behind the scenes that we often take as granted for in the additive manufacturing industry. I do all of this and then give my peers a file that they can plug into the 3D printer and print their parts. You can see that something as simple as setting up a polymer 3D print, which, like I said, we take for granted, somebody else, like my peer, doesn't know it. So that makes me an important part of the team because I'm bringing that additional skill set to the team. So extrapolating the situation, the skill here would be maybe learning how to design and model fixtures, learning how to do design for additive manufacturing, learning how to use 3D printing software or set up how to create support structures or an infill pattern. It could also be material selection. It could be running the 3D printer itself, helping them post-process the part, and then iterating if the part is not right. So similarly, I've listed examples here. You can write down all the skills that are needed to fill the gap in the industry. The third step is to then create a development plan. So you will look at all these skills, then look at your own career goals and interests. So imagine like a Venn diagram with an overlap in the center. Identify just 2 to 3 skills that you think you want to learn, which are easy to learn. Sometimes you may not have access to a software. Like maybe you want to learn how to run a metal 3D printer, but you don't always have access to a metal 3D printer. So try to identify skills which are actually practical and which you can learn and pick up in a matter of months or 1 to 2 years. And then you can communicate that with either your formal manager or mentor, take advice from them to create a realistic development plan. So you can make goals like, I want to learn how to design a part for additive in 6 months. Then you can list, okay, month 1, I'm going to get access to the software and watch tutorials. Second month, I'm going to do this, this, this. So by end of 6 months, you will be adept at whatever skill you've set down to learn. You can also leverage YouTube tutorials, online courses. There are so many courses online for free sometimes. There are also paid certifications from universities, which go that extra mile, which actually bring you in person and help you get hands-on with the machine. So those are good too. So whatever it is, just set down your plan and then slowly integrate these new skills that you're picking up with your current skill set. The next step, I feel like this is one of the important steps, is to stay updated with the industry need. Just continue your conversations with leaders and see where the industry as a whole is moving towards. Especially these days, like I'm sure everybody has heard of ChatGPT. I think it reached 1 million users in 5 minutes or some ridiculous time. So technological innovations and advancements are very fast. So you need to keep up with the trends and see what skills you need to pick up to stay competitive, but also go from good to great, really. One thing I want to highlight here is do not forget to amplify your own strengths, your unique characteristics that make you you. I would like to talk about my personal experience that shows this. I've always been the only female in a majorly male group when it comes to professional work experiences. And whenever we are discussing strategies or trying to solve unique problems, initially everybody used to share their ideas in the meeting, and I would listen to them. They would all be sharing like similar ideas sometimes, and I would have like a completely different thought process in my head. So initially I was scared to say anything in the meeting because I was like, oh, everybody is thinking like that. Why am I not able to think like that? Why am I thinking in this other way? So I would only go and share it with my manager or one or two peers after the meeting. And every single time I was met with amazement. And they would all say, this is such a great idea. Like, we did not think about this. We didn't think in this direction. You should next time. And this happened one or two times, a couple of times. And then I realized that I'm scared of saying something in a meeting, or that I'll embarrass myself. That different perspective that I have in my head is actually a strength. Nobody else is getting that idea. It is me who is getting that idea. And unless I share it with the team, they will not know it. So slowly, I started sharing my ideas with the team. And I observed that maybe because of the way I grew up, like I grew up in India, I grew up in a certain lifestyle. I grew up with certain kind of friends, certain kind of education, whatever it is. My background, uh, everything that I am, everything that Rashmi is making me think of these unique ideas. Similarly, I'm sure every one of you has different kind of experiences in your life that make you unique and make you give those different and unique perspectives when it comes to solving problems. I'd like to summarize the 4 steps that we talked about just now. Step 1 is to identify the industry trend or gap. Step 2 is to list down the technical and human skills from the industry gap. Step 3 is to create a development plan to upskill yourself. And step 4 is to continue the cycle, continuous improvement, right? We are engineers. So irrespective of if you're a manufacturing engineer, quality engineer, material supply chain, aftermarket, product development, product design, any of these traditional manufacturing roles, you can make yourself go from good to great and make yourself unique and an indispensable part of your team by picking up some additive manufacturing technology and skills. That ends my presentation for today, and I'm open to questions.
Perfect, Rashmi. Thank you so much. I loved all that you had to say, and those breakdowns were just spot on. We do have a couple of questions that have come in from you for our attendees, and we've got a few more minutes if anyone else wants to throw any additional questions in for Rashmi. So first, our top voted question for you is, how do you draw the line between expert and generalist when listing out what skills to learn?
In my opinion, if you're, let's take design for additive manufacturing just as an example. If your job is 80% of your job is just doing design for AM, 80% of your day looks like designing parts, redesigning parts to suit additive, then I would say you would need to be at an expert level. A generalist probably would use it as a part of their job and not the only thing they would be doing in their job.
Building on that, our other question for you right now is, what are some tangential skills you can recommend for an entry-level professional?
Definitely learning how to design jigs, fixtures, and tools, especially if you're in a manufacturing facility like I am, because every day you see the people on the floor, they need fixtures, to make their job easier. You could just make takt time, for example, go from 2 minutes to 30 seconds. Imagine how much time and money you're saving for your company by just changing something very simple and empowering a floor operator by giving them a jig. So, and polymer 3D printers are so cheap these days. Every facility has a couple of polymer 3D printers. And if you don't have one, I recommend that you get one. So for an entry-level engineer, I think that's definitely one way to make everybody come to you and ask for help, I guess.
I love that. And we've also got, Ellen Lee in the chat is pointing out that your advice is also applicable to non-technical roles. And definitely as a non-technical person myself, I absolutely agree with that statement, because everything you're saying is really resonating. And I am just in awe of everything that you're able to do on the technical side. And so absolutely value all of the advice you've shared. We don't have anything else for you in the Q&A right now, but we do have lots of comments in the chat about how very much your thoughts have been well received. And so I'm so thankful, Rashmi, that you took the time to join us today. I hope I'll see you again on the networking tables.
And yes, now I think, thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.